What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dogs and Hogs. I'm your host, Bobby Andrews. We have got former Georgia football player Russ Tanner, as always, here every Wednesday night on the UGA Sports YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to comment, leave comments, questions, anything, honestly, anything you'd like to say in the chat below. And me and Russ will get to them as soon as we can. But Russ, first and foremost, Merry Christmas. It's we didn't
Merry Christmas.
yeah, we didn't do a show last week, so Russ was he'll get into it a little bit later when we talk about some barbecue. But Russ was in New York City, so that's
That's
sounds
it.
pretty fun. Did it snow
Yeah,
when you were
still did
there?
not. You see, I'm still still coughing from it. No snow. Man, it's like 50 degrees in New York City. We heard a lot of things what it's going to be like, and it never happened. So yeah,
Nice.
little Tanner family trip. I don't exactly fit in New York City up there, but it was good. Good to
Yeah,
take the kids.
there you go. Well, Merry Christmas to everyone who's tuning in. We got a little ticker down at the bottom here going. Comment and let us know what kind of UGA gear you guys got for Christmas, or let us know if you're gonna be if you got tickets to go to the Orange Bowl. So that's exciting for those who are who have that opportunity. So
I don't know, man. Look, I'm curious what it's going to look like this year for the Bulldog faithful. You know, the Dog Nation has been arguably the best traveling group for the last 5 or 6 years, going back to the Rose Bowl. But I don't know that many people that are going to Miami this year. I know a few in my circle of friends, but it's going to be interesting to see what that crowd looks like down there. There's a lot of noise about how important this ball game is. I know we're going to get into that some tonight, but yeah, hopefully some of our folks on here can give us some live reports when they're down there.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Russ, we did not do a show last Wednesday, but last Wednesday was actually a pretty big day in the sphere of UGA football and college football in general. Last Wednesday was National Signing Day. Georgia got a ton of commits, obviously, number one recruiting class and number
Yeah,
one signee class
yeah,
in the nation.
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure I can pull up the list, or I know Roddy's sitting he's in the studio right now, probably controlling things behind the scenes. But I could probably pull up the list here of all the signees that we got. But
Well, you know, it's yeah. I mean, you can pull it up. And we can certainly talk about it because I think we know that recruiting is the lifeblood of programs. You know, there's a misconception now that the portal is what cures all ills for teams, and you know, you've seen people like Colorado have a I can't. Oh man, I'm never gonna be able to see that. It's on my phone. It's tiny over here. But yeah, you see Colorado. They signed 6 or 7 players out of high school.
yeah,
That ain't gonna work, man. Like
yeah,
you hear about Lane Kiffin being the portal king, and he's landed some big fish that are gonna make big impacts on the program. Walter Nolan, but you look at it. There's a wringing of hands with Georgia people. We lost Dylan Raiola. You know, there's a few players they wanted to get they didn't get. They're not recruiting the state of Georgia like they should. There's all these reasons that fans want to complain and get upset and aggravated, and then there's chatter about the guys going to the portal. What's happening with the state of the program? Then you look up, and Georgia signs the number one class in the country, and it's not particularly close. Like any metric that you use to measure recruiting classes on any website that ranks them, you know, I know we stick to rivals here, but there's a bunch of people out there that does it, right? No matter who you looked at, everybody said Georgia had the number one class in the country, and it wasn't even close.
yeah.
So what Kirby and those guys are doing, man, it's nuts. It is really nuts. There was a breakdown of the dog vent or the vault on UJ Sports this week about why this class was so good for Georgia. And the guy on the posters who was talking about it, and I thought he made some great points. You know, he said my prediction at the beginning of the year was that Georgia would sign less 5 stars than in past years, and that did prove to be true. And a lot of that has to do a lot of it's proximity, a lot of his need, a lot of it's the amount of depth that Georgia has. It's hard to get all those very high end 5 star guys because they want to play immediately, and they're going to be backing up other guys that were highly rated the year before. But so I think Georgia signed 3 or 4 5 star guys. In the past years, they signed 5 or 6. But the gap then for Georgia, there were other teams, Ohio State, Bama, a few others signed as many 5 stars. But the amount of 4 star guys that Georgia signed was so far above everybody else in America. It wasn't even close. The amount of top 100 and top 250 players that they signed was nuts.
Right.
So it's a machine what Kirby knows. It's really unbelievable. But the program, if you that right there, what you're looking at, if you see that Georgia is on the top of the recruiting rankings, if you're right there every year, you're going to be in the playoff for a long, long time going forward with the expanded stuff coming. So, good job, Kirby, man. Those guys over there got it going on. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It really is unbelievable. 27 all 27 of Georgia's commits that had said that they were committed to play at UGA, all 27 of them ended up signing. There was nobody who was a late flip on signing day. However, there was a huge flip in favor of Georgia. KJ Bolden officially flipped, the number one safety in the country, officially flipped from Florida State to Georgia. There were reports that, Auburn was in on it a little bit. Russ, I don't know if you saw that video of Hugh Freeze in his press conference. They were asking him about, what's it take to what kind of last minute efforts does it take? And there could have been some shade possibly thrown at Georgia, but that's not up for me to decide.
It's legal shade now. That's one of the richest things in the world is Auburn people getting mad about the bag man coming in at the end of the process to secure a kid last minute. I mean, Pat Dye's cabin is legendary, where guys will go over there to Auburn to visit. This is before NIL was a thing. You couldn't officially pay players. SEC schools, places like Auburn specifically, have been paying people for a long, long time. Now it's just legal to do. So, you misspoke a little bit. There wasn't any signing day drama for Georgia in the bad way, but Dylan Raiola, we started hearing rumblings within 2 or 3 weeks before signing day was coming. So it wasn't a huge surprise. But, it's crazy with Georgia fans with that whole crew. We're all on the Dylan Raiola train. But, man, when he puts out his poem about why he's going to Nebraska, not only is it not a good poem, not that I know much about poetry, but he had a line in there I thought was really telling. He said something along the lines of he didn't want to be just some cog in a big machine. He wanted to go somewhere and be the man, is essentially what he said. Sorry for messing up his poem, not saying it specifically, but that's just not the attitude you got to have if you want to play at Georgia right now. You got to be willing to come in, be one of the dudes, be willing to fight, be willing to compete, be willing to get after it every single day, and then earn a spot on the field. And that ain't, nobody can waltz into Georgia and know they're going to start. But so we lost Dylan Raiola, which is fine. It's going to happen. With the day and age of transfers now, it's wild. But to get that dude you got up there right now on the field, KJ Bolden. I turned to Buford game. Did you watch any Buford football this year?
Yeah, I watched some Buford football.
So I turned on a couple of games this year, really to see Raiola, right? Because, we started hearing about Raiola last year when Georgia wanted Arch Manning. But then some of the sting was taken away from that because they said, hey, we're going to get Dylan Raiola. So I thought, man, must be the greatest high school quarterback there's ever been. Is that the poem?
Yeah. No longer a cog in some powerhouse machine.
There you go. You can't have that attitude. So I turned it on over to see this guy. Hey, let's go back to KJ Bolden. I don't know if you or Roddy are running that.
Let's
Roddy. Put him back on. Okay. Yeah. Put KJ Bolden back at the Roddy if you don't mind. So to see, I turned on the Buford game a lot this year to watch Dylan Raiola. And, you've heard the Coach Donnan stuff about the way he wanted to recruit. Have you ever heard this, Bobby?
No.
He said whenever he went to a high school football game, he wanted to take his wife, not tell her who he was recruiting, and wanted her to be able to pick him out. KJ Bolden, every time Buford football was on, was the dude. And yep. Buford is the preeminent program in the Southeast as far as college prospects. I mean, they've got it going on, right? I mean, they've got guys upon guys upon guys. So
yeah, and as Roddy's showing right there, he played both ways at Buford, and he's being recruited as a safety, but was absolutely unbelievable at the wide receiver position as well. Just an all-around athlete. I mean, look at this throw. This is from Raiola to KJ right there. And if he can catch those type of balls, imagine what he can do at the safety position. I mean, he is going to be a ball hawk for UGA.
He's the crown jewel of what is a loaded class for Georgia. I mean, he's the dude. He and Ellis Robinson, man. Ellis Robinson is another cat too who got no publicity through the process, but is rated as I think he was rated as top cornerback in the nation.
Yeah.
You got a couple of guys there who are just the physical freakiness. Those are the guys when the locker room is happening. There's a lot of freaks play college football at Georgia. when those guys walk in and do something on the field, all the other guys look around like, hey, did you see that cat? He was a freak.
Yeah.
That's what KJ Bolden is. That's what Ellis Robinson is. So, I mean, look at that joker. Good Lord, have mercy.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby, if you gave him if he gave you a 30-yard head start on a 100-yard field, he would beat you. You know that, right?
Yeah. No, I know. Listen, I am no speedy athlete. I'll tell you that much. I played baseball. I was not a. I'm a 90 foot sprinter. That's about it. So yeah, I mean these guys are athletes that are coming in this class. That was a great point about Ellis Robinson as well. But just kind of talk about I guess there was a picture of all of these guys basically down at they're in Miami practicing with the team a
Yeah.
little bit. What kind of impact can that have on these guys? And I mean, it's not going to have much of an impact just yet because obviously we're not going to see any of these guys playing in this weekend's game. But what kind of impact can that have on them as players coming into Georgia and into future seasons?
Well, it's enormous, and it's crazy to me, like how much this has changed in just the last 10 or 15 years. I think back when I was coming out in 2001 was my senior year. I was enrolled in July, and that was kind of the standard. You came in June or July. There's an expectation for the majority of us that we were going to redshirt. So now, with the way that these high school kids are developing, the programs that they're in high school, the expectation of playing time, the way that they have to recruit, the desire to get to the NFL, you can no longer afford to not come in early if you're one of these top guys.
Yeah.
Because the experience of being around the people, I mean, there's a picture of all those cats.
Yep.
By the way, I don't know who number 89 is, that guy on the left over there. But I saw somebody today said looked like he was created in Madden for next year. He got goated, as my kid would say. That kid looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
Over there. That's the tight end kid, I reckon. But
yeah, Jaden Riddell. That's who it is. Yeah.
That's Jaden Riddell, 89?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. So yeah,
Roddy's
it's
pulling stuff up.
Yeah.
He looks unbelievable. So but for these guys to come in, is that what it says right there? I can't even see that on my screen. My screen's
yeah,
too small.
Jaden Riddell on the
Jaden
far
Riddell.
left.
I don't know who Jaden Riddell is. I haven't followed recruiting enough this year, but I like the way he looks. And that's what you're seeing. So here's the point I was going to make with this. And your question ties into it. This is a whole nother tangent I could go off on. But in the world now where these parents so often with youth sports try to specialize their kids in something. They try to get them private lessons, tutoring, travel ball, working out, specialize that. Man, you know what all these cats for Georgia have in common? They are freak athletes. I think you say like 25 of the 27 or something like play two sports or more in high school. They're all freak athletes. So what Kirby and those people are doing, like if you don't hit a certain number as far as height, weight, speed, some combination that works, you're not playing at Georgia. They will mold you into it. How big is that guy? How big is it? No, he's 6'9.5". I can tell by looking at that picture. Maybe he's standing up.
I don't know how he's only 6'4". I mean he's.
But these guys, they're such physical freaks, and they're very raw. So many of these guys are raw coming in from high school. So to come in for these bowl games like they are, the bowl practices are great, but I mean, 4 or 5 practices is not going to make the difference. But to go ahead and be around the coaches, to get the nerves when you first come to play football at Georgia, the amount of nerves that you experience coming in to play against these other cats are lining up, because everybody in high school is the man. Everybody in high school was king. Oh, I can't say what I normally say there. He was the big man on campus in high school. You come up here, everybody's a dude. Every single dude out there is a dude from high school. And there are grown-ups that you're playing against. So to get that early experience is huge. It makes you not want to wet the bed when you start thinking about practice the next day. It makes you get over just that shock of what it's like, the speed of it. So that when spring comes around, of these 25 guys, 27 guys that Georgia signed this year, the expectation is probably that you're going to have 15 or 16 of them next year that are contributors on this team in the 2024 season. So that jumpstart's enormous.
Yep. how soon do you think? How do these guys fit in with this UGA roster? Because there are some guys who are leaving. Of course, we've had some guys transfer out, but specifically on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Kamari Lassiter is still unsure on whether or not he's going to the draft or not. He could come
Yeah.
back for another year. So there are some guys like you mentioned, Ellis Robinson, who is, I mean, a lot of people really, really like him and think he's going to be a huge difference maker on this defense. But where do these guys fit in? The KJ Boldens, are these guys going to see the field a whole lot next year with, guys like Javon Bullard and Malachi Starks, and how do these guys fit in?
They're going to see the field. They have no choice but to see the field. And they can thank the transfer portal a lot for that because, Georgia just lost, 21 guys to the transfer portal, 20 guys, something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys were guys that I'm not going to say they were encouraged to leave, but they're not huge losses to Georgia. That's not a knock on these guys. They're going somewhere they have a chance to compete. But what you lose is depth, and you lose you're 2 deep, you're 3 deep in a lot of positions. So what has to happen now is the young guys have to step up because you ain't got nobody else. There aren't other players on the roster to play in the positions. They've got to be ready now. So if you're physically talented enough and you're smart enough and willing to learn, which I'm assuming these guys are going to be, they're going to play in the fall. I mean, I saw a bunch of stats this year about the amount of freshmen that played for Georgia and were contributors. And it's nuts, man. If you come in and work hard and learn what you're supposed to do, they're all physically talented enough they'll play. So a ton of these guys right there you're looking at, man, like I guarantee you 3/4 of these guys next year will be contributors on the field for Georgia.
I think that's something that fans like to hear because, sometimes even from my perspective, you see all these talented players and you're just like, man, like I want to see them play. Like I saw their high school tape. Like I want to see how they can contribute to this football team. So I think that's, I mean, I even like hearing that as well because yeah, I want to see KJ Bolden play. Like I really do want to see him play in a Georgia Bulldogs uniform against, the best of the best in the nation in the SEC. So
yeah, and he probably won't start next year. Malachi
right.
Starks is going to be a high pick, right? And Javon Bullard, is he coming back? Has he said?
I'm unsure. I'm
I don't
not
think
sure.
he
Maybe
said.
the
I don't
fans
think he said.
can
I think
let
he's
us
kind
know
of
in the
hinted towards
comments.
it. But you got Javon Bullard and Kamari Lassiter, the 2 guys you're watching.
Yeah.
Tyke Smith is going to be moving on. Again, our fans can correct us. I get so messed up with the COVID stuff, man. I forget who can actually play another year and who can't right now.
Yeah.
But if you start getting guys like that are gone, that have been huge parts of your team, these young guys have to step up, man. Ellis Robinson, Khalil Bolden, you're going to see them play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's and not only do they have to play from a depth standpoint, they're talented enough, but then Georgia uses as recruiting tools. If you want these high end guys to come in and be a part of your roster, you've got to get them on the field early. And those other guys see that, man. These cats are recruiting for the 2024, 2025 classes, et cetera. They see it. So, yeah. And again, we watched that film with KJ Bolden a while ago. We see a guy who's that freaky. I mean, when I played high school football 20 something years ago, nobody was watching my highlights being like, oh, do you see that Tanner boy? He looks unbelievable on that Johnson County. You're watching Khalil Bolden and he stands out all the time. So, I don't know. It's exciting for him, man. It's exciting for Georgia. And they've done a great job. So I've seen a few people commenting in our commenting on the post here. And I saw one a few minutes ago and just saying he's excited about the running backs. Nate Frazier and then Dwight Phillips Jr. Dwight Phillips, I saw something the other day. Dwight Phillips was the fastest high school football player in America this year, I think. That's what they said.
Wow.
As far as like his 100-meter time or how fast he's clocked somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that cat can stinking fly. So, and then you got a receiver named Nitro. Dylan's talking about it right there.
Nitro Tuggle, yeah.
I don't know. I hope he's kin to Jesse Tuggle. Somebody can tell us that. He was my favorite Falcon back in the day. And his name is Nitro. So you feel like he's going to be a baller. So
yeah. All team name already, Nitro Tuggle. I mean, come on, it's just a great name.
Yeah. So you got guys like that are unbelievably fast, unbelievably talented, unbelievably skilled. And then you got this offensive line class that they're bringing in. I think the smallest guy's like 6'5", 315.
Yeah.
They're enormous human beings, and they're just babies. They're puppies. They're seniors in high school right now.
Yeah.
And they're some of the biggest men on the planet. So if they come in and get right, work hard, shed that bad weight because they got bad bodies right now. It happens in high school. You get up there and let Coach Sinclair and his people do the thing. Like, you got some guys that are going to mash people. I think it tells you what Georgia's planning on doing in the coming years as far as offensive philosophy. That ain't spread the ball around and run some little cutesy, Rudy, fruity, fresh and fruity offense. They're about to try to smash people.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, from your perspective, talk about, I mean, you mentioned the offensive line. Tell me about the offensive line, because some of these guys, high school football is so much different from college football. And it's what I've been told, at least. I mean, you can vouch for that as well. You've
Yeah.
played at that level. So, but these offensive linemen, even we saw Monroe Freeling this year, kind of, he came in and had some play time and stuff like that when some guys were banged up, but he wasn't like, he didn't make a huge impact. I feel like it takes these offensive linemen some time to develop and get used to, not just shoving over, 5'9" defensive ends that are trying to come after them. Do you know what I mean? This is no longer high
Yeah.
school football. Talk about the offensive line a little bit.
I mean, it's actually really good question, Bobby. Good job. Speed. When we talk about Khalil Bolden, Nitro Tuggle, Dwight Phillips, Ellis Robinson, you go down the list of all these guys we're talking about. Speed is not something you have to learn, right? I mean,
Right.
Either you fast or you ain't. That's just the way it is. And if you're fast, you can find your way on the field because you can physically keep up with the people who are trying to run away from you. And that doesn't change a ton. Guys who are fast as seniors in high school are going to be fast as freshmen in college and fast all the way throughout. You don't develop that a ton. You learn technique and all that, but you can be a receiver. And if you don't know all the skill stuff, just say, hey, man, go deep. You can be a running back and say, hey, we're going to run a tall sweep this way. Go do your thing. I don't think there's a harder transition in sports. In sports, yes, I'm saying in all of sports, and people can argue all they want to for me, than trying to play offensive line in high school to trying to play offensive line in college. Because, you don't see that many D1 type guys in high school, no matter where you play. You may play against a couple of good players here and there, but you're not playing against loaded defensive lines all over the place. You're not playing against guys that are bigger, faster, stronger, more knowledgeable, and more skilled. And even if you do get somebody who's big and fast, they don't have the physical ability as far as their hands to do. You just see what I just did? Defense linemen do stuff like that, and then they're past you. You don't even touch them.
Right.
So when you come in as a freshman on the offensive line, one, you've got to adjust to the fact that now there's people who are a lot more athletic than you are. A lot more athletic than you are. Most of us offensive linemen in high school were some of the best athletes on the field as far as side-to-side quickness, lateral agility. Even in high school, even somebody like me who was not a great athlete, I was one of the better side-to-side athletes on the field. I was quick. When I got to Georgia, man, it's like somebody put my feet in molasses boots when I was trying to move. David Jacobs made me look like a silly little child the first day of practice. I thought I had him. Oh, I'm going to beat this guy. Look at him. He's 270 pounds. I'm about to wreck his world and make myself a name. He did something like this, and all of a sudden he's behind me. I didn't even know where he was.
Yeah.
So guys are so much faster than you are. And now you're not going to see many people that are bigger than these cats that Georgia is bringing in right now, but they're going to go from playing against a big guy in high school is 245, 250, 260 to they're going to get guys that are 320 pounds. Christian Miller, Big Baby Jordan. You've got some dudes you're about to line up against who are grown ups. And the technique that those defense linemen learn as far as their hands, their quickness, their ability to read and all that is so much different. In high school as an offensive lineman, you can manhandle everybody, and that changes. It takes a lot of time to learn. To jump around a little bit shows how much of a dude Ernest Green is going to be. Redshirt freshman, but still, he started left tackle as a freshman all year long. That's really, really hard to do. So
Yeah.
It's hard for offensive linemen to contribute as true freshmen.
Yeah, because I was about to say that's the question we had here from Daryl Huckabee. Can a true freshman be ready to play on O-line?
You're in trouble as a team if you have a true freshman starting if you was an O-line, unless he's an absolute freak of a dude, which does not happen very often.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. All right, well, we got this question here from Chris Tittle. Didn't Georgia get a running back transfer from Florida? And that is a great segue into our transfers. we're kind of moving over to the transfers here. Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis Etienne, running back
Yep.
for the Jacksonville Jaguars, went to Clemson. So yeah, I mean, this is I feel like this is a huge signing for, or I guess transfer
Yeah.
signing, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, you've seen the guy play. This is exciting. I feel like this is exciting for multiple reasons. One being he's a stud running back, and Georgia is running back university. I mean, you look around the league right now. Zamir
Yeah.
White is even making a difference now for the Raiders. Anyways, that's
Zamir
that's a
White balled
different,
out last weekend.
yeah,
Yeah.
different tangent. But number two, he's a Florida Gator. We got
Yeah.
a transfer from the Florida Gators. The University of
Phew.
Georgia gets a Florida Gator transfer. I mean, just your thoughts on Trevor Etienne here.
All right. So these are two totally separate conversations going through my mind. Transfer portal in general, then Trevor Etienne.
Okay.
Trevor Etienne is a difference maker on the field. Did I say Travis or Trevor? Trevor.
Trevor.
I think I said Travis one time. That's okay. Etienne, he's a difference maker on the field. And he's one of those guys, when the ball gets in his hands, he's electric with the football. Florida preseason, their running backs were two of the guys. Everybody kind of said they had the top running back tandem in the country, with Etienne being one of the main dudes there. So I think the fit from a scheme standpoint for Etienne to Georgia is huge. You think about those guys in the past that have kind of filled that, I don't know, third down back, for lack of a better term, that we've talked about. You think about Kenny McIntosh, James Cook. You've had kind of the lightning to the thunder combination going all the way down through there, when you had Sony Michel with Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, guys that can come out of the backfield and do some things for you when the ball's in the air. They can catch it, make a guy miss, and they're home run hitters. Georgia, we didn't have a home run hitter at running back this year. Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton end up being great football players for this team, but they weren't home run hitters. Now, Branson Robinson was hurt this year, but he's an in between the tackles, pounding guy. Roger Robinson, right? He's another
Roger
big
Robinson, yeah.
guy. So you see the ETN cat come in, and you're going to have big physical backs that are going to go downhill behind that mammoth offensive line and get hard yards. Now you bring in a kid like ETN, who you can do things in a formation that are different. You can line him up outside. You can motion him. You can throw him the ball. You can give him a toss. You can hit him with a screen, and he will still run the ball between the tackles. It's a dimension for the offense that makes it so hard to stop. So, yeah, I mean, ETN, man, like, I think Georgia knew really early. For subscribers to UGA Sports, they knew really early that ETN was going to be a guy Georgia got. Roddy and his team was reporting that really early after the dude entered the portal. It's like not a matter of if, but when he comes. So, yeah, I'm excited he's coming to us. I'm glad he ain't playing for the Gators no more. And we love the portal when it works out in our favor to bring guys in like this. So, yeah, welcome, Trevor. Glad you're going to be wearing the red and black, big dog.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very excited for him to be here as well. And then also one guy, we got a couple wide receiver transfers in. We've been talking about London Humphreys for a while. He was probably the first guy that we knew about that Georgia was kind of going after, wide receiver from Vanderbilt. Roddy pulled him up right there. Dude is fast, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I think he had the state record, I think, or something. Don't quote me on that, but he's very fast. I feel like a really good weapon for Georgia to have.
It makes me laugh with London Humphreys being such a great athlete, because we can just say it. We all know it. If I need Tyson. I feel like I say anything about white boys, I need Tyson Browner here to laugh along with me and say, yeah, you're right. But every white wide receiver always gets compared to Wes Welker or Julian Edelman or somebody else like that. They're lunch pail guys, gym rats, coach's son. All the cliches, high motor, all these cliches that mean they're not that talented but can go. That ain't London Humphreys, man. Like, that dude is an athlete. He's a fast cat that can jump. He is not your typical little white boy slot receiver that's just going to go make plays all over the place. You haven't heard him being compared to Ladd McConkey, have you? It's because they're different type guys. And Ladd is going to be it has been a great player. He's going to be a great pro. But London Humphreys is an outside target. He's a big, fast receiver that can go get that rock when it's in the air. And Georgia needs a lot of that, because that was an area that we weren't dominant in this year. So, yeah.
Geez, look at him go in that highlight right there. He's gone. Wow. He is, lightning fast there. That's exciting. And then also the last one that we got, unless I'm missing anybody, I don't think I am, but Colby Young from
Yeah,
Miami, the other wide receiver. I think this is a great addition as well. There's still some time left.
Xavier
Oh, Xavier
McLeod. Yeah, you
McLeod,
missed one. That's right.
totally
Forgot
forgot
about
about
him.
him.
Yep.
Defensive lineman. Yeah, yeah, totally forgot about Xavier McLeod. We'll touch on him real quick, and then we'll go to
All right.
Colby Young here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
McLeod is. Go ahead.
no, just thoughts on Xavier McLeod. I
Yeah.
feel like even we sat here on the show. We talked a couple times about how Georgia's defensive line just was not as dominant as it has been
Yep.
in past years. Defensive lineman Xavier McLeod coming in from South Carolina. Talk about the impact that you'll think he can have.
Well, you need athletic bodies on the D line. And how big is that guy? I can't see a stat
6'5",
from him.
284.
6'5", 284. Right. So this ain't some little stump knocker sitting there at nose that is 5'10", 320. He's also not Jordan Davis, so huge in the middle, just trying to clog it up. Now Georgia has some of those guys. They've got guys on the roster that are that. So Xavier McLeod is a long, rangy athlete that you hope is going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I thought, Michael Williams had some comments today to the media. I read one of the articles earlier today about Georgia talking about wanting to use him more as an outside edge guy, a pass rush guy coming around kind of a four-man front defense. And Xavier McLeod has that type of body that can do several positions on that defense line for Georgia. He can line up head up the tackle. He can go down to a three technique on the guard. He can clog the run, but he's also big enough, athletic enough, and strong enough to move out to the edge and put pressure on you from that way. So he's a multiple type guy. And if you look at what Kirby's done with his defense linemen, you have enormous man eaters, then you have versatile athletes. When we've been really good, that's been what's happened, right? You've had the enormous man eaters, the Jordan Davises. Jalen Carter wasn't enormous, but he was a man eater. And then you had other guys that can move all up and down the defense line and make really good plays for you. So that's Xavier McLeod. It was a little bit interesting with him, right? Because he ended up stepping away from the South Carolina team this year. And there's nobody really knew what was going on. Why was he away from the team?
Yeah.
And he was one of those who, when he signed with Georgia, had some comments, kind of throwing some shade at South Carolina, just saying, I'm ready to be at Georgia, a place where I can actually be developed and coached. I was like, ooh. So there's some bad deals going on up there in Columbia. But I'm very confident that Kirby and his team have done all the character homework needed for a guy like McLeod, who had some questions as far as why is he not with the team. I don't know McLeod's story with South Carolina. I have no clue. But anytime somebody's away from the team, there's questions about character, questions about work ethic, questions about academics, whatever it may be. So I promise you, he's been vetted by Kirby and the staff. And he's going to be a guy that comes in as a big, long, explosive defensive lineman who is hopefully a difference maker for us because we need them. We need them bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It will, obviously we'll see what happens with him and his impact on the Georgia defensive line. But I think, it's an area that is definitely an area that we've talked about that we could use some help, I think. So,
Yep.
and then obviously, the guy I mentioned, Colby Young here from Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And just another wide receiver transfer. I feel like we get, these wide receiver transfers. From the transfer portal, we saw Ra come in this past year, and Everett, what first name slipping?
Dominic Lovett.
Dom Lovett. Yes, not
Yeah.
Everett. Dom Lovett. And I feel like Georgia, we go after a couple different wide receivers here. I think they could have similar impacts to what we saw from specifically Ra Thomas. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy can play for sure.
Yeah.
So Colby Young, I didn't get to watch a ton of him this year, but I know that he can play some football. Just talk
Well,
about
Kobe Young played at Miami. All their
right.
TV games are going through Raycom. Nobody sees them play. So that's the way it is. While Florida State's trying to leave the ACC.
Yeah.
Kobe Young is so much different than the other guys we've talked about. He lines up at receiver, but he's almost got like a hybrid tight end body with what you're seeing a lot happen these days. I mean, he's like 6'5", 220, right? I mean, he's the guy that goes out there right there. You see that? That
Jump
play
ball.
that just showed is what everybody wants. You want to be able to throw a fade down there And if all else goes wrong, throw the ball up to the dude and just go get it, man. He is so big and so strong that he can go get balls for you. And again, man, it's the same thing I talked about with Etienne a while ago. It is one of the areas that defenses are in trouble trying to defend. Multiple weapons, multiple ways of attack. And that's what Colby Young gives you. If you put Colby Young outside in a one-on-one situation against a 5'10, 5'8, 5'9 cornerback, and he's down there at the end zone, you're going to throw in the ball and see what happens. And more times than not, he's going to go get it and come down with it if Carson Beck is accurate, which we know he's super accurate, especially in those shorter throws. So he's not a slot possession receiver. He's not Dom Lovett, who's trying to get you a little quick first down, trying to go over the middle and pick up a ball, trying to get a little slip screen and make a guy miss. He's going down the field, and he's going to get the ball when it's up in the air. He's going past the sticks. He uses his big body to keep defenders off and go get it. I mean, Colby Young, the Colby Young and London Humphreys signings to me are huge.
Yep.
These are the types of players that Georgia needs. Georgia did not have as many guys in the pass game when, especially when Brock and Ladd were out this year, who were explosive down the field. Rara did a little bit, but he was hurt some too. So you got two guys here that are going to be big play guys for you if they hit their potential. And that's, you bring guys in who you see their best. And when they're at their best, they're downfield threats. And if Georgia starts throwing the ball downfield next year effectively, we're going to bring home our third national championship in 4 years.
And when was the last guy we had as like a jump ball threat like
Lawrence
this
Cager?
True, yeah. That's a good point.
Also from Miami, I think.
Yeah. And now plays tight end in the league. Pretty sure he's playing tight end for the Giants. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those players that's very interesting to kind of watch and just see, develop, I guess, and see what we can do with him at UGA. But yeah, I guess go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have been curious about the transfer portal. I know Roddy's listening to us, but it's curious, right? Like Georgia now too. If you look at the amount of guys who are leaving graduation and then the amount of guys who are portaling out, I think Georgia still got room right now too to bring in more players in this year's class going into next year again. So I don't know how the scholarships break down, how the scholarship breakdowns work, but Georgia ain't gonna be done. I guarantee you that after the bowl season, after spring ball, you'll probably see Georgia bring in even a couple of more guys that are key positional pieces for this team. So, don't much slip by Kirby Smart. I promise you that.
Yeah. All right, Russ. Well, that's pretty much the first half of our show. Probably a little bit beyond the first half of our show. We got a little bit left here. We will take the rest of the time pretty much to preview the Orange Bowl. Thoughts on bowl season in general? People say year after year. Fans, make sure to comment here in our comment section. Let us know what you think. Is bowl season? Is it still? People say they're meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Do bowls mean anything anymore? Unless you're in the college football playoff. From your perspective, Russ, what do you think?
It seems to mean something to Georgia. I mean, praise the Lord, it means something to Georgia. It don't seem to mean a rip to Florida State right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't know what's happening inside the locker room, but the opt-out stuff, and I bet Georgia got some guys who would have been opt-outs, but I think that they're doing a really good job of controlling the narrative and letting some guys who are banged up a little bit, something like that, still go with the team, still travel with the team, be a part of the team, and just say, all right, we can opt out and not play you as much. But it seems for the most part, if you're healthy for Georgia, you're going to play, man. But those guys have bought in. And I cannot for the life of me understand the amount of these guys who are opting out of bowl games and not want to play one more time with their team. It's mind-blowing to me. People, the fear is that if you get an injury, right, that you're not going to make it. Not many people get hurt to a point where it affects your draft. It's hardly any guys ever. There's a tight end at Michigan a few years named Jake Butt who did. And, I mean, he was about the only one I've ever heard of. But Georgia's guys are playing.
Yeah.
Roddy's pulling it up right there. If you go down through that Florida State stuff, I think Florida State's at like 20 some odd guys now.
20. I think it's potentially 20 guys. I mean, and the big names are, Tate Rodemaker, the backup quarterback, transferring away. So they're going to have their third string quarterback starting. I mean, you look at Keon Coleman, who's opting out.
Gone.
Trey
Jared
Benson.
Verse.
Yeah, Jared Verse. He's opting out, probably going to the draft. So all of these guys, I mean, it kind of I don't like it because I was actually kind of looking forward to this game in the sense of like this is a game for these two teams to kind of prove that that they deserve to be in the top four, and now it won't even look like that, and it won't even look like
No,
that for
I
Georgia
thought
either because
no,
they're going to be playing a Florida State team without 20 of their starters basically, and it's like
yeah.
what's is this even who is out on the football field and so I don't know. Yeah, it's not a
I'm
great
disappointed
look
in Florida
for
State.
New Year's Six Bowl, I
No,
will say.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in Florida State, and I don't give a rip about Florida State. I don't care about them at all. I like Florida State in the '90s because they were the team of the decade, watching them back then. But now, I couldn't give two rips. I mean, I wouldn't pee on if they were on fire. I mean, it just doesn't matter to me as far as what they do. But I was hoping for them that they were going to have a fire in their belly of saying, we got left out of the playoff. We should have been in. And they should have been in the playoff. I agree. They should have been in. They got robbed. And I was hoping they would come out and try to prove something by beating a Georgia team who is the class of college football this year. But the opposite has happened.
Yeah,
They're all leaving. They're not, it's like they don't want it. And I
right.
mean, from the outside looking in, I don't know what the line on this game is, but it seems like you should take Georgia because it seems
Double
like it's about to be a
digits.
beatdown.
It's at least I'm pretty sure it's at least double digits. If not, I think it's gone to at least it's 14 maybe or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's been developing over time and growing. So yeah, very I think somebody said here in the comments it was 16 and a half.
that's
Georgia's
crazy.
favorites.
I
So
mean, it's crazy. You're talking about an undefeated Power Five champion, and they're two touchdown plus underdogs now against the Georgia team.
yeah.
And I don't know. It's it aggravates me the national narrative about Georgia when they try to talk 19 and a half. Daryl
Yeah.
Huxley says now.
Guess it's
Um,
climbed because that's what
it should be climbing, but it aggravates me when people try to get on the Kirby about, oh, look, all the transfers leaving. Look at this happening. It's like they try to find negative ways to talk about this team. But if you look at what's happening with the brotherhood of guys that are sticking around, that are playing, that are supporting their team. Nobody's opting out. Nobody's not traveling. You know, Brock Bowers and Amaris Mims apparently not with the team, but we heard they're coming in. Like they're there to support their guys.
yeah.
It's different, man. Like I'm telling you, it's different. And all those guys who are opting out, they're going to regret it when they get to be grown men who are 41 years old, sitting in their basement watching their kids run by when they're doing a podcast with a dude named Bobby. Because you don't have many
Oh man.
opportunities like this, man. Like it's special to go play in the Orange Bowl. I
Yeah.
mean, and they're making these business decisions that they don't have to make yet. And it's bad for college football. I hate it that this opt-out stuff is happening. I hate it that money is what's causing all these kids to make decisions about their immediate future, and it's going to be negative for them in the long run. So, I love where Georgia has a program. I freaking love it right now. Like they are in, dude. They bought in, they believe, and they're with each other with this. Kirby's done an unbelievable job. Florida State's like throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
They
It,
deserve to have the score run up on them, 50-0.
yeah. I mean, Georgia's not. I mean, you mentioned Brock Bowers and Amarius Mims, like not with the team currently, but could be joining the team later this week. I think that just speaks volumes about Georgia and the program. Brock Bowers, a arguably a top 10 pick, and it's not even out of the realm of possibility that he actually plays in this game. So, that Roddy just highlighted that we didn't have to discuss this. George's Michael Williams said it comes from our culture. This is who they are. This is how we are. And Kamari Lassiter, another guy that we talked about, he's playing in this game. Maybe going to go to the draft, maybe not. He may stick around. Who knows? So it's just, is this game even going to be competitive? I mean, do you even see this game being close? The spread is 19 at this point. Is this? Do
No,
you think?
Vegas knows. I mean, like the only part of me that says it's going to be close is the old Larry Munson in me that thinks if you say anything good that you're going to jinx it and make the bad happen, and
Yeah,
think that you never know what's going to happen on here.
yeah,
But all signs point towards Georgia actually beating down Florida State. Florida State doesn't seem to want to be there. The leaders for Georgia are saying the right things publicly. The leaders for Georgia are going to be with the team. The majority of them are still going to be playing. I hope Brock doesn't play. Brock's ankle has not been right since he hurt it early
yeah,
on. I mean, I'm okay if he doesn't play. I mean, that dude's giving us everything he could possibly give us. There's no question about him.
yeah.
But everybody else is in, man. Like they're in, and these guys are there. They're part of this team. They're part of this program. They're part of the history of what's going down. They want to get put. They want to have their name when they're professionals. Send emails out. They want to say so and so, comma DGD. Like if you opt out, you don't get those monikers if you don't be a part of the team.
Yeah.
You want to be considered a dang good dog the rest of your life. And they bought in. They bought into Kirby, to what he sold, what he believes, and what they're doing. And it's exciting. I hate it for these other kids, man. They're gonna look back down the road and regret. They're opting out of the Orange Bowl, Bobby. The freaking Orange Bowl. We're not talking about the Shreveport Gasparilla Weed Eater Bowl. It's the Orange Bowl. For
Yeah.
people that grew up as college football fans, like there's not a bigger stage than the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Orange, Sugar, Fiesta, Rose. Those are the biggest games there are, and they're
You
just
could be
they're
playing in the
deciding not to
Holiday
play in
Bowl
it.
right now. Like that game's on right now. It's Louisville and USC. So I mean,
Sheesh.
you know, it's yeah. You're right. It does
It makes me
carry
mad.
weight.
We're gonna have to talk about better stuff because that stuff it just makes me mad. The opt outs that are going. You
Yeah.
know, college football is not broken. I love college. I really love college football. It's my favorite sport, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
But it's changing very rapidly. It's going to get fixed in the next few years. The market will fix itself. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys too, man. Like they're making these opt out decisions for their NFL future. I think a lot of these guys are hurting themselves with the NFL future. You know, Kirby said it great with Brock Bowers when he came back after the high ankle sprain, came back quick. And somebody asked him, is Brock not worried about being injured for the NFL stuff? And Kirby said, man, ankles heal. Everybody in the NFL knows that. They have ankle injuries all the time. They heal. If you see a guy with a warrior mentality going out there, supporting his team, doing the little things right, showing that you're the type of player you want on your team, your draft stock goes up. It doesn't go down if you sprain your ankle. It goes up because you battled through something. You didn't go out there with a strained uterus and say, I can't play anymore. So, uh-oh. I think I lost Bobby.
I'll take over then.
Oh, there he is. Roddy's back. I was going to say I can't interview myself and talk about that.
It's okay with there. Now we got Bobby back, and he just
Sorry about that.
rose up there for a while. Got to pay that internet bill.
Bobby started lagging on us.
What's that free Wi-Fi that's being you guys always advertise?
Hey, get your free Wi-Fi.com, man. You got to hit them up.
No free shout out, but yeah. Anyways, sorry about that, guys.
You know Josh Millard, don't you?
Me? Yeah, I know him. Oh yeah.
That's the man who's putting it all together. That's the guy's helping Georgia have a lot of NIL stuff too. So
you talk about a wild man, by the way. Josh Millard was a wild cat. I mean, he was a trip. And by the way, I had people texting me, and I did apparently say that. Yeah, you're right. Kurt Miller, buddy of mine, athletic director, locally, I said somebody had a strained uterus and wasn't playing. So my apologies for saying that. But you know, it's probably not appropriate in this day and age. But
yeah, well.
Anyways,
if the shoe fits, man. But the number of guys that I took a issue with a lot of people saying that all these FSU guys opted out. Well, a lot of them have gone to the portal.
Yeah,
and they're combining the guys that have opted out with the guys in the portal. I'm like, that's different. There's two different variations there because if you're going to use that same logic and then say, well, Georgia hasn't had anybody opt out. Georgia hasn't had to officially have guys opt out because the guys that are questionable are all guys who are just about injured. So, and Kamari Lassiter is probably the only one. Javon Bullard maybe is the only one. They're going to play. I don't know how much they're going to play. But if you look at, did Dumas Johnson opt out? Did Brock Vandegrift opt out? There's a lot of guys that you could say opted out because they went to the portal. So it's a little unfair to count the FSU guys as opt-outs because they're in the portal and not count Georgia's that way. But the fact that you have so many Georgia starters playing and you don't with FSU, that 19.5, I told Dash, I don't bet on games because it's not ethically good for us to do that. Or at least on Georgia games. I'm like, man, when it was 14, I said we should take out second mortgages and just hammer that line at 14. Just double our money, man. But now it's 19.5, so we missed our window.
But it's the high end opt outs for it. I mean, most of your transfer portal guys, and now Florida State, I don't know their portal list, but of the Georgia portal guys, and I'm going to say this very carefully because I don't want to disrespect those guys that are transferring out, but the majority of the guys that are portaling out for Georgia are not huge game day losses for Georgia this season. Now they could hurt you in the future. They're depth pieces for you, but most of the guys transferring for Georgia, maybe they're special teams guys, maybe they're your 2 or 3 deep, but they're not your frontline starter guys on there. Again, no disrespect to them. They're going somewhere they can play and potentially have a future playing pro ball after that, but because you need time on tape. But Florida State just seems to have more top guys out than we do. And I don't know, maybe it's just Kirby controlling the narrative, and that's huge for recruiting, for everything. It's huge. And Georgia's doing a much better job of controlling the narrative than Florida State is.
You're right. And, I mean, you're not only your third string quarterback. Carson's playing in this. You got seniors who could opt out, and you got guys who are going to the NFL that can opt out. It'll be interesting to see how many actually play, but you're like, oh, well, Marius Mims hasn't opted out. I don't see him playing because he's got that injury. Brock Bowers hasn't opted out. I don't see him playing. Lad McConkey, don't see him playing. He's going to try. He said he's going to try, and we'll see how much he can play. But I could see some of my guys going out there and kind of having a curtain call, if you will, but not playing the whole game, knowing that there's some guys behind them that need the reps, need the snaps. And but again, you're right. It is a culture thing. You go back to that game against Texas. I think Kirby was just sick of how that played out in the Baylor game. He's like, we're not having this. We're not having guys with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Either you're in or you're out. You're going to practice. And I know for a fact that he was going after Javon Bullard in practice as if it was the Tennessee game, just chewing his butt. And if you're worried about, hey, I'm going to drive him off, make him go to the NFL, that's not Kirby style. Again,
nope.
100% buy-in or not. So that is a culture issue or a culture thing. So I was just saying it was I've noticed there were some headlines. FSU has 18 opt-outs. Georgia has none. I'm like, come on, man. That's not right. But I do like the fact that Georgia's ready to play this game. And, yeah, I expect it. And to me, it's a great preview of 2024.
Yeah.
We always say at the end of spring practice, we'd love to see Georgia play another team and not just do an inter squad. Maybe you could have Clemson come over, have Tech come up, actually get to play somebody else. Well, this is week -1. Get to see him against FSU.
Yeah. I think that's a good
point. I would have absolutely hated that as a player, by the way, had to play another game in the spring. Because, man, after spring, all you want to do is be done with spring. Like, all you want to do is going to be a college kid for a little bit, which maybe is different for him now. It's not. They're the same. I think you'll see Ladd play, by the way, in this game. I think Ladd's going to go pro. And I think for him, he's a guy that durability has been questioned some this year. He's been banged up. And for him to go out and have a good game against a good Florida State team, no matter how many opt-outs, transfers, whatever they got, if he performs well, that leaves a good taste in the mouth for those NFL scouts. It may bump him from a 4th round to a 3rd round, 3rd round to a 2nd round guy, something like that. So I think you'll see Ladd play. I saw in your guys' report today, he was out in a regular practice jersey doing his thing out there with the team. So I think you'll see Ladd play. I don't think Brock Bowers will play much. I don't think Marius Mims will play much. But other than those guys, man, it seems like everybody's there. Everybody's playing. Everybody's doing their thing. So
I know the Smile Monday will play.
Smile Monday, yeah. And then and you got a couple of guys that are hurt. Damon Wilson, I think, had a little knee surgery, was reported, so he's out. But for the most part, Georgia's there, and it seems like they want to be there. They're talking about wanting to be there. So hopefully it reflects that way on the field, because I've been part of games where you come out and not want to be there early and you get boat raced in the first quarter by West Virginia. I've been part of those games. But I've been a part of games, too, to where you come in and you are freaking ready to roll in the postseason, and it means something. You're trying to prove it, and you go win. So it seems like Georgia has enough alpha dog mentality all the way through the roster, top to bottom, starting with the alpha of Kirby Smart, to where they're going to be ready, man. I really feel good about where they're at right now. So
I like the fact that if they win this game, their seniors get 50 wins.
Whoa. That's
50.
wild.
A lot of guys, a lot of the underclassmen are like, yeah, we want them to have 50. You know how hard that is? That's damn near impossible. Yeah. And granted, the extended schedule is big, but to have 50 wins as a senior class, that's plus 2 national titles. So those guys go out as, the greatest senior class of all time. So if they can get those 50, that would be gigantic. And a lot of underclassmen want that for them. And that's played into it. And also, if you go out and you lose this game, hey, you lose to an FSU team that doesn't have anybody. And then everyone's able to say, well, of course they didn't deserve to be in the top 4 teams. They even lost to a terrible FSU team.
Yeah.
And you also hear all year long, or all summer long, consecutive losses, a 2-game losing streak. You don't want that narrative going into February, March, April, May, June, July. The off season is twice as long and twice as painful if you lose a bowl game, especially to a team you should not lose to.
Yep. Unless the ball just absolutely doesn't bounce Georgia's way, some dumb special teams thing happen, a tip ball that you can't control goes for a pick six. Unless multiple things like that happen this week, Georgia's going to beat the crap out of FSU. It's going to be a beatdown. So, and I'm here for it.
All right, Russ, let's round us out here. You were in New York City last week, and you got to try some barbecue in New York City, didn't you?
I mean, I ate a barbecue sandwich in the airport in LaGuardia. That doesn't count. There's actually a decent barbecue in New York, I've heard. I've got a buddy who's a firefighter up there. Shout out to the 9th Ladder Company, I think, the 9th Battalion. We went and saw those guys. It was awesome at the firehouse up there. So they've got some good barbecue. We didn't get a chance to go see. Yeah, we just had a sandwich in the airport. So I ain't going to write about my New York trip and the barbecue I had up there. So we did eat some good pizza, though. So that works out.
All right. Well, where's the pizza place that you went to?
I don't know. I keep waiting on Roddy to invite me down to Miami. Well, let's go find something down there on UJ Sports. Let's fly down there and do it. So pizza. Oh, pizza. You said pizza. I'm talking about barbecue this week. I don't even know the name of it. Just some slice shop on the side of the road in New York. It was real good. So yeah, man, it's I don't know, man. It's been a good year. We've got to talk about football. We got to talk about barbecue. And the good thing for folks like us who are now doing podcasts and trying to do content for UGA is this cycle never ends anymore. I mean, there's always something to talk about, and it's always fun when you're at the top like Georgia is right now. So I'm excited about the game this weekend. I'm excited about seeing some of these new guys or young guys get a chance to play. I'm excited for spring to see all these, this new batch of recruits coming in and see what they're going to do. Who's going to be the guys? KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson, Dwight Phillips, the massive offensive line. I mean, it's fun. So yeah, I've enjoyed the heck out of doing this year, man. I look forward to keeping it rolling, and maybe we'll have some good barbecue.
What is this?
Stranger, I hope you can beat a full house.
Pick up the New York City. That's it.
That's funny.
I asked my buddy. We met a friend. I've got a friend up there. Met he and his girlfriend, and I asked him, "Did I fit in New York?" And they just both kind of laughed, like, "Nah, you don't. There ain't much of that happening." So yeah.
You've been doing a great job, even if you did go to New York City, Russ. We're glad to have you here.
Missed signing day last week, man. That would have been a big one too. It was fun. I watched most of y'all stuff and read it. It's good, man. Like, we're very fortunate to have Kurt Miller was talking about a while ago. See, at last comment, pull that comment he had up a while ago about roster management. If y'all see that real quick, and I'll try to wrap up my thoughts. Let y'all.
I got it right here.
So it's the new thing, right? Roster management. So, and I mean, y'all can see it. It's exactly right. When the portal thing was happening for Georgia, like, the sky's falling. What are we going to do? This program's crumbling. No, none of this caught Kirby by surprise. Maybe a few guys late. Maybe the AJ Harris, the Daniel Harris guys, maybe that caught him by surprise. But the majority of these guys were conversations they had all year long. They're helping guys that got to Georgia that aren't going to see the field at Georgia a ton, go somewhere else where they can be the dude, have a chance to make football a part of their financial life going forward, which is not going to happen if they stay at Georgia. So Kirby's done that better than anybody else in the country, from how you work NIL stuff to bringing in the portal guys. And Roddy, what's the scholarship numbers look like now, roughly? I mean, I'm assuming they have some open spots left. I guess some of that depends on who goes pro.
Some of it depends on who goes pro, but it's also, they're really tight. They're always tight on numbers, but we don't always know who's on scholarship. And that's because they don't have to give that information out because it's financial aid records. So they can announce 29 guys as signees, and 26 of them are actual scholarship guys that count as initial qualifiers. 3 guys will basically be preferred walk-ons, but they get enough in NIL that's the same as a scholarship. So it gets there's guys that come in gray shirts where basically come in early, and we don't have a scholarship for you now. You come in as a preferred walk-on, and then later on the spot will open up for you, and then we put you on scholarship, but we don't tell everybody that. We announce you as like a signee when you first sign. So it's really tough to know who's on scholarship and who's not. But from our standpoint, they are really close on numbers. And we said when the portal opened, we saw anywhere from 10 to 20 scholarship players leaving. I kind of dialed that back to 10 to 15. And then, sure enough, got right back to 20. So it's I know folks kind of lose their mind about the whole transfer portal thing, but you got to have – you just signed 28.
Yep.
You just signed 28, and you brought in 4 portal players. You got to have a bunch of players leave. You got to have some graduate. You got to have some go pro. And this is why people say, well, Kirby finally lost a game. Their run is over. I'm like, he lost the game by 3 points after going undefeated all season. Went 3 back-to-back undefeated regular seasons. He just, as you guys point out, number 1 class by a good margin. And he went and got 4 needs, not 4 high profiles, but 4 needs from, and some of them are high profile, don't get me wrong, but Kirby doesn't try to win the press release. He doesn't try to win press conferences. He doesn't try to win the Twitter daily battle. He tries to win football games. And if there's one thing that he's better at than he is a coach, it's roster management. He could make a heck of a lot of money in the NFL being a GM.
You're darn right.
And if he ever retires, that's probably where I expect him to go. Be in the front office somewhere, looking, breaking down players, making trades and stuff like that. So they're going to be around for a long time because he's always going to have one of the best staffs of coaches because they all want to coach with him. And he's going to have one of the best top to bottom, 1 to 85, or actually 1 to 105, who prefer walk-ons, best roster management. So that's where he's.
We get to have shows that's talking about how great Georgia is for many years to come. Kirby is the man. It's like a Tiger Woods. It's like a Tiger Woods contract, man. Big dog.
So that about wraps us up here with Dawgs and Hawgs on UGAsports.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got this comment from Perry Rogers. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you to all the fans out there who tune into the show week after week. Thank you for leaving comments. We just want to say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all the fans out there. And tune in next week for more Dawgs and Hawgs. And Russ, as always,
go Dogs.
Go Dogs.